What's up, guys? Today I want to talk about this comic. This is a new comic, Infernal Hulk, this new series by Philip Kennedy Johnson, and the artist is Nick Klein, I believe. Yeah. I'm not really familiar with either of these guys, but this honestly was really great, and it reminded me a lot of Immortal Hulk, that series from a few years ago by Al Ewing and Joe Bennett. And I think the comparison is inevitable because they're both Hulk series and they both are clearly focusing on like horror elements of Hulk, which is great because that's really a lot of Hulk's character. He's not just strong. I mean, he's always fighting like insane monsters and weird threats all the time. That's one of the things with the Hulk that I love is that it's like super interesting all the time. But this series right now, honestly, I have no idea what's going on. I mean, I do to an extent. Hulk is possessed right now by basically some like ancient evil deity thing, and he's like split down the middle and kind of sewed back together. And I think that's interesting because that's basically kind of what I think is kind of like a running theme in the art of this book is this kind of stitched together theme. And I'll just explain that in the way that Nick Klein is using the panels in like a super interesting way that I don't know, just stood out to me. And I mean, this cover is awesome too. I mean, just like super intricate detailing. Again, it reminds me of Joe Bennett, obviously because of like his like grotesque way of drawing monsters in such an interesting and intricate way. And we have this like underwater fish here, crazy beast, which we'll see coming to swallow up our Hulk. And then actually, if you pay attention here on the side, which I didn't notice at first, you have Namor, which we'll see him in the issue. I might not talk about him too much because there's just a few pages I want to talk about specifically. But yeah, and again, the coloring is great. I love the green and purple, obviously perfect for Hulk. And right on the side, we have Cosmic Invasion, probably some like terrible mobile game or so. I'm like, who plays these really? I guess people play them. Probably more people play this than read the comics, low key. But right off the bat, what I want to talk about with this stitched together thing is if you look at these first three panels here, this is all one image. And the composition has just been broken three ways. I guess I'll just leave the book like this. All right, you can see it. But the composition has been broken into three to show the passing of time. So up here, I mean, right away, I love this scene because we just have a coastal scene, ocean scene. I love the ocean. I love the beach. So we start, horizon brings us down to, we have our lighthouse, and then whoosh, we come down with the beach. You see the shape of the beach brings us down right away. Boom, we see some birds, and then on the third panel here, we just see the Hulk's feet. So see the stitched together thing? This panel is happening in a different time than this panel, but technically they're this continuous image. So if these were happening at the same time, we would see Hulk blocking all of the rest of this, but we only see his feet because this is happening at a different time. So it's like a stitch together. It's almost like if you took it's almost like masking an image in film. Like you took it as the same background, but you masked off Hulk at the top through this panel. So I think that's really great. I think that's just a fantastic use of the panel here and the storytelling. So I love that right off the bat. That stood out to me. And then we have Hulk's rendering. I just love the way he's rendered. And this is one thing, again, that I do think has to be credited to Joe Bennett at Immortal Hulk. I'm sure other artists have done this before, but it just stood out to me the way he did it with Hulk always, is to stretch down his, I forget what this thing is called, between your top lip and your nose. That area, the top, bring that way down. Give Hulk just his huge bottom section. Like he could you look like he could chomp into steel, and then condense his forehead and everything, and the brow and everything. I don't know. I just honestly love it. And for this version of Hulk 2, I think this started in the last run where he's really got this like leather face from Texas Chainsaw Massacre haircut, or reminds me of that, or almost like Danzig from the Misfits, that punk rock band. But I don't know, it just reminds me of stuff like that. I just love the rendering. And you can tell something's not right, even aside from the face being stitched. And then we get into the next sequence here, which again, I just, just a great sequence. I love here too, if you look at Hulk's arms, the way this is drawn, I don't know, you can really feel the tension. Like the arms are being not pushed back just to a open degree, but like as far back as the muscles can stretch. You can tell it's really, I don't know, the arms are really pulled back on that tendon. I don't know. You might think I'm going OD with this, but I don't know. That's really, I really like took a minute to look at these pages because I just loved it. But yeah, and then we have our seagull here. I hope he got away, the seagull, but it's not looking good for him in the next page where we see Hulk has just, thunderclap through the water, splitting the sea, probably some type of reference to Moses. That's an inevitable comparison because that's such an important, biblical, foundational story to like humanity, so, but just seeing that, do that. I mean, I'm sure something like this has been done before, but that's, once again, the thunderclap is always one of Hulk's most interesting abilities because it's so versatile. Hulk has used it for so many things. From, I think in this series, I think in the first issue, he used it to completely like turn someone into dust by thunderclapping them, so hard. But yeah, basically he, pops the water open, and we see the statue underneath. This is actually some type of Atlantean statue. I'm not totally familiar with this. Maybe this is something from another story, like someone got frozen into stone or something. I'm not totally sure, but to me, this is just some type of Atlantean statue that points the way to Atlantis. And this old evil version of Hulk might know about. This might be even a statue that Namor might not even know about. This might be some like ancient stuff, but this ancient deity that is the possessed Hulk knows about. So I think this is just a really interesting storytelling device, again, to use this statue, and it just opens up a lot of questions for the reader as well, because you just think, what's the context of this? That's, for me personally, I think that's always important in comics, that you have to pose questions too. You don't just want to constantly be lore dump. Sometimes just show something and pose some questions. And then once again, we have another stitched together panel that where we're shown, different time but the same image. So we have above the surface, and then below it we show we're going a little farther down. We're getting some sharks, some fish, and then even farther down. See, technically these are all the same image, right? We have the Atlantean, castle, Namor's like main throne room and everything. So again, really awesomely rendered. Really does look like coral or like bone almost. Really great. Kind of like based off like Greek or maybe Minoan architecture or something. I don't know. Minoans were like early Greeks, right? Pretty sure I'm right about that, right? Then we got this thing. I don't really know what was going. I don't remember what was going on here. This was some type of a seal gets broken. Oh, okay. This is that lizard thing coming up. I kind of forgot about this. I read this a week ago, but I remembered that other stuff because that really stood out to me. But let me show you the other panels that I really like. So basically, yeah, this other deity shows up. This ocean one that's related somehow to the one possessing Hulk. I don't know what's going on with that, but I just like the storytelling. But basically, yeah, swallows Hulk, and we again have stitched together storytelling, quite literally in the body of the beast. We see, Hulk falling through, guts separating the panels. From these next few pages, yeah, we get guts breaking up the panels. I think this is, again, just a really interesting way to break up the book. You know exactly what's going on. There's no misunderstanding that Hulk is literally in the belly of the beast right now. And then, yeah, when we cut to Namor outside getting his ass kicked as usual, which is kind of what Namor is in a lot of stories nowadays. He just shows up to be arrogant and get his ass kicked like Vegeta or something. And yeah, but basically the good thing about here, you see with the storytelling as well, Namor is not surrounded in the guts. he gets back to a regular panel because he's, you know, not in there. So that's just a great detail to pay attention to. And then here, this whole page is totally taken up by this and super grotesque and weird. When you zoom out from it, this almost feels like a wall that's been graffitied to me, these two pages together, because, you know, we start getting big sound effect bubbles, you know, onomatopoeias, whatever it's called. And just the way it's broken up, you know, super interesting. Again, literally stitched together through the guts of the beast, and we see Hulk travel through, fighting these weird skeleton things inside of his stomach, fighting his way out, ripping through his stomach, literally ripping through the panels, which is something Hulk has done a lot, is literally break through the panel of the comic book. I always love when they do that. And this is in a really interesting but like weird and disgusting way. And again, posing questions. What are all these creatures? How are these things alive inside of the stomach of this weird ancient creature? I have no idea what's going on with this. Maybe there's some lore. Maybe Philip Kennedy Johnson's just making this up. I don't know. Making it up as he goes. And yeah, but more ripping up the guts, whatever. I'm not going to show the whole issue because, you know, I would encourage you to pick up the series yourself if you can find it. I couldn't even get issue 1. It was sold out in my store. But I got issue 2. I want to get issue 1. But yeah, just super awesome. And again, I'm not really giving it a numbered review or anything, but I definitely recommend for the art at the very least and the visual storytelling, which I think is great with this stitched together style and just the interesting way of using the panels, because that's something people forget to do with comics a lot of times, is not just make the art interesting, but use the panels in an interesting way and really experiment with new ways to break up the page and use it as a way to tell the story. And I think studying a book like this is a great way to get an idea of that and try to figure out how you might be able to do it yourself. So, thanks for watching. Got a lot more videos coming.